What's going on, beautiful people? Wednesday, June 21st. It's been a while since I talked to you. A lot has happened. I mean, a lot. Like the Nuggets won the NBA Finals, and that feels like over a week ago. Has to be over a week ago. I think that was like last Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I don't know. It's been a while though. Bradley Beal has been traded to the Phoenix Suns. That's a thing, right? I got something to say about the NBA, the association, before we get started talking about football. And I've got a hypothetical for you there. Last time we spoke, the Browns had released an alternate, dog logo for the dog pound. And now we got another alternate, this time a helmet. We'll discuss that a little bit later on in the show. So, lot to get to. Let's do it. You're locked into the LouieTeeNetwork podcast that starts now. The LouieTeeNetwork is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 343rd installment of the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I hope your extended weekend was outstanding. Happy Juneteenth to all of you. Happy belated Juneteenth to all of you out there. It was a great weekend. I think we brought rain with us, though, because it's been pretty nasty the last couple of days. However, the weekend was very, very fun and enjoyable. A lot has transpired since the last time we spoke. I want to talk about the NBA real quick before we jump into the show. So, congratulations to the Denver Nuggets for winning their first NBA title. I think most of us saw that coming. The Heat fought valiantly, but they were overmatched. They first and foremost, just even getting to the finals was a task in itself as the 8th seed, and how they were able to maneuver through the East and get there is still beyond me. I had that thing pegged all wrong out East because it was one of 3 teams that was getting to the finals, and there was no way you could convince me otherwise. It was either going to be the Bucks, the 76ers, or it's going to be the Boston Celtics. There was no way any other team in the East was good enough to beat one of those 2 teams, or 3 teams rather, twice. You're going to have to beat one of those teams, 2 of those teams rather, to get there, right? The Heat had to beat both the Bucks and then the Celtics to get to the finals. In between that, they had to take care of the Knicks, and somehow they were able to do that. And I just didn't see anybody being good enough to do that, having to beat the only team that wasn't going to have to beat, 2 of them was Milwaukee. They had earned the right to only have to play either the 76ers or the Celtics once. That's it, right? They weren't going to have to see both of them. Whereas the 76ers and the Celtics were going to have to beat one of the other, right? And then you're going to have to still beat Milwaukee, or at least that's how I thought it was going to play out. The Heat take care of Milwaukee in the first series, take care of the Knicks, and then they go and take care of the Boston Celtics before getting to the finals. It was a hell of a run, but this is all about the Denver Nuggets and them taking care of business. And kind of shocked that it ended up being Nuggets and Heat. Not shocked that it went 5 games. I told you at the beginning of the series, I thought it would go 5 games. It was a little bit dicey when they lost game 2, they being the Denver Nuggets, but I didn't expect them to go to South Beach, take both games. They did that, and that pretty much put that series in a stranglehold. That was the last time we spoke, and I said this thing's over. And they did since have taken care of business. They've hoisted the trophy, the Larry O'Brien trophy. Joker was the MVP. Go figure, right? I mean, just had one of the greatest runs we've ever seen in postseason history. So, that's a thing. And now the offseason begins. Before we get into the Bradley Beal trade and all the scuttlebutt that's going on in the NBA right now, I want to say this. I was having a discussion with one of my buddies, and he had asked me about my opinion on the Bradley Beal deal. And I think that deal kind of speaks to a larger happening in the association right now. And for him, he's a Suns fan, so he wanted my opinion on the Bradley Beal deal. And I had told him it's pretty simple. Once the Suns had made the deal for Kevin Durant, there was no going back. Like this wasn't optional at this point. They were going to have to go all in and try to win a chip now. Like there's no turning back. Once you traded away Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, any chance of you winning this organically, any chance of this having this large window of opportunity, it shrunk exponentially. You took all the youth off of your team and you made it an older basketball team with Chris Paul and Kevin Durant on it. You made it an older basketball team, and now you have to try to win with that group, however you can do it. So they added another star in Beal. We'll see what it does for them. I still think they've got to find a way to surround that team with talent. I don't know how you're able to do that with the amount of money that you're paying these 3 stars. Guys are going to want to have to come to Phoenix and take a considerable amount less to do it. If they can facilitate that and you know, kind of do what the Denver Nuggets did, which was build a great cast of supporting players around those 3 stars, they'll have a legitimate shot in the West. But to me, it speaks to a larger situation in the NBA, which is this is the first time in a very long time where I feel like every team in the league feels like, why not us? After watching what the Heat just did, after seeing how quickly the Kings turned around their fortunes, and looking at some of these other teams in the league and saying, if they can do it, why can't we? I'm looking at the rest of the league and I'm hearing about the Pacers wanting to trade the 7th overall pick. Why? Because they want a veteran player that they think can push them over the top. They think they're ready to win. With the kid they took out of Arizona last year playing as well as he did as a rookie, you know, with them having some really good pieces on their team, including Tyrese Halliburton, they think they're ready to win now. Like they're not looking to wait. They looked at what the Heat did and they said, if we can get in the playoffs, why can't we do what the Heat did? All right, you got teams like Portland, Dame, they're still, you know, committed to Dame, right? And Dame is like, well, I want you to trade the number 3 pick to get me a veteran here that can help me. And so the Trailblazers are exploring their options to see if they can maybe move the 3rd pick. You're seeing a lot of that, right? Teams looking to move high draft choices in order to try to win now. Why? Because there was this blanket over the NBA for the last 2 decades, essentially, right? I mean, think about it. Either LeBron was going to the finals in the East. He may not win it, but he was going. And so you weren't going to have an opportunity to win in the East because LeBron was there. Didn't matter if he was in Cleveland. Didn't matter if he was in Miami. You know, it didn't matter where he was. He was going to the finals, right? And then there was that one little, you know, gap there. Kawhi sneaks in, right, with the Raptors. And I'm not sure if LeBron had already gone to LA or not by then. But when LeBron went over to LA, it didn't really matter because he was having to contend with Golden State the entire time he was there. Once it went from the San Antonio Spurs, it went to the Golden State Nuggets, and Golden State was pretty much in the finals, it seemed like, every year. And so that was the thing. And it didn't matter who, you know, you weren't going to win a title because either you had to deal with LeBron or you had to deal with Golden State. And so now that Golden State looks like they're starting to disintegrate there, their GM, Bob Myers, is no longer there. Draymond has opted out. Don't know if he'll be back. A lot of people have questions about Jordan Poole. Can he bounce back? He's been a talk. He's been one of those guys that's been talked about as trade bait potentially. But again, he just got a massive contract that I don't think anybody really wants any part of. So they're kind of stuck with him right now. So Golden State looks like they're in, you know, the beginning of the end, right? So there's that. LeBron is probably not winning another chip, more likely than not. That was a hell of a run they had this year, but I don't foresee them winning anything notable. But even if they are back, nobody's afraid of the Lakers, right? If the Lakers are good, the Lakers are good, but they're not dominant. LeBron can't carry a team anymore, is essentially what I'm getting at, which that was the thing that always made LeBron teams scary, is that when LeBron felt the need to take over, he could. He can't do that anymore, okay? We've seen him try. He's just not at that stage of his career anymore. So there's really no dominant team in the NBA as it stands right now, which is why people think the Nuggets could potentially, go on a little bit of a run. I can't see, first of all, Bruce Brown has just opted out. We'll see what happens. You know how this goes. You never have the same team exactly, after you win a championship. Everybody wants their just due, and that's the way it should be, right? Bruce Brown was making $6.8 million. He's opting out, and he's going to get paid. Someone's going to pay him if Denver doesn't, right? So I don't know if the Nuggets are good enough to repeat. We thought, I thought that Giannis's chip was, due to a ton of injuries. It doesn't matter. That's how this thing goes, right? Kawhi winning the championship in Toronto probably only happened because of the KD injury, right? So you can't really play that game. All you can say is it's wide ass open. If the 8-seeded Miami Heat can make it all the way to the NBA Finals in the East, and the Denver Nuggets, who they were the number 1 seed in the West, right? But if they can, find a way to finally, maneuver their way through the West and get there and win it, everyone's looking around and saying, why not us? Why can't we have one of those seasons? There's no LeBron in the way. There's no Golden State with Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Klay Thompson waiting for us at the end of the tunnel. Like, why can't we win a chip? And I think everybody's kind of in that mode. It's the same way I felt when everyone kind of got a taste of the play-in tournament. Like, there used to be buyers and sellers, clear buyers and sellers at the NBA trade deadline, right? Guys, teams, working out buyouts with players and things so that they could go and join other teams. And now, because there's this play-in tournament and it extends from, 7 all the way to what is it, 10? Everybody's like, we got a shot. I'm not trading away my assets. Not unless you give me a deal that blows me away. I'm not trading away my assets. I can still get in the tournament. And as we saw with the Miami Heat, they were in the play-in tournament. They had to play their way in, and they ended up being the 8th seed, and they made it all the way to the finals. It changes the way teams approach the trade deadline. And more importantly, now with there being no dominant team in the association, it changes the way you approach the season. It changes the way you approach the offseason. It changes the way you approach the draft. You see teams looking to get out, not just because there's not talented players in the draft. There are talented guys coming in this year in the draft. They're looking for that veteran wing. They're looking for that one missing piece. Everybody's looking for wings these days. All right. Everybody wants a wing, an athletic 3-and-D type of wing. Everybody wants one. There's a small pool of guys available, but there's so many teams that need wings. You can never have enough in the NBA. And everybody's looking to get theirs. So it's going to be interesting to see how teams try to finesse other teams. Like, for instance, the deal that the Wizards got for Bradley Beal wasn't particularly a great deal. But when you're eating the type of money that they were eating, and I told you guys this, I feel like I told you guys this on the podcast. I mean, me and my buddy talked about this when Beal got the deal he got in Washington. I said, he's finessing the Wizards right now. He's finessing them because he's signing this deal knowing that he can't get this type of money anywhere else. He can't get Supermax money anywhere else. And so he's going to sign with the Wizards, but he'll demand a trade down the road, right? And what will the Wizards do then? They're not going to win anything with Bradley Beal. It was a bad deal when they signed it. Who's winning anything with Bradley Beal as your number 1 option? You're not, because Bradley Beal is at best a 3rd option in the NBA, at best. So why would you give him number 1 money is inexplicable. Inexplicable. So new GM, new management comes in and they say, we got to get from under this bad contract. So you got to take whatever the other team is essentially giving you just so you can move that money. That's what they did. Is it a great deal for the Wizards? No, but does it provide them with financial, flexibility in the future? Absolutely, and that's what they were after. They're not done. They're having a fire sale. There aren't many teams in the league having a fire sale right now. Why? I just told you why, because everybody thinks they can win. So there aren't many teams. There used to be 4 or 5 of these teams every year. Like Toronto, if they just decided, you know what, let's blow this thing up and start over. They've got so many pieces that people want. You telling me somebody can't use a spicy pea? You telling me somebody, look, there's plenty of teams that would love an OG Anunoby. Fred VanVleet is a hot commodity right now. They could really, really get over on some teams if they wanted to trade their pieces. And they're looking around like, if you're not going to let me abuse you in a deal, I'm just going to keep my stuff. Because we think we can win something, which is why they got rid of Nick Nurse, which is crazy because he's a really good coach. But everybody's trying to win and win now because there hasn't been a window like this in the NBA in damn near 2 decades. So it's fun to watch. I'm going to see how this all plays out. Draft is on Thursday night. Obviously, I don't really care about the NBA draft. It's probably the worst draft. Baseball is the worst draft because you might not see that guy that you get number 1 overall for 4 years, right? Baseball is the worst draft, but basketball isn't that much better. It's hard to get really excited about the NBA draft. Anyway, I'm more excited about seeing if deals get done because I think there are some teams that realize we're not close enough. We could take a young prospect. We need a star. We need to swing for the fences, which is what you have to do in the NBA. You got to swing for the fences. If you don't have a top 10 to 15 player on your team, you're not winning an NBA championship. You're just not going to do it. So some team may say, you know what, Portland giving away number 3 overall. I'll take my shot at one of these young kids and see if I can't get a star at number 3. And I'll give them whatever they're looking for to try to keep Dame happy in Portland. And it'll be interesting to see if some of those deals get done or not. But anyway, I digress. Let's get to some football. That's why you've probably all assembled here. You want to talk some ball. And, you know, I'm always down to talk ball, right? And so let's go ahead and do that. And the way we will do that first is with a gem dropping session. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up. Get you thinking a little bit. So I got a hypothetical. You know, it's hypothetical season, right? I try to come at you guys with hypotheticals that make sense. So in all of the different dealings that have transpired since the last time we spoke. So Dalvin Cook still looking for a home, which I told you, I don't think he's going to find one until we get closer to or even into training camp. I think DeAndre Hopkins is closer to finding a home than Dalvin Cook is. And I think he'll have one before the start of training camp. But again, this is that quiet period of the NFL. I wouldn't be shocked if nothing happens with him until we get to mid to late July, closer towards training camp for most teams. I'm pretty sure by now you've heard Dalvin Cook say, yeah, I'd love for me and DeAndre to team up and, you know, pick our next destination together and go and try to help a team win. I think a lot of people would love to see that. And I'm thinking, Dalvin, no, we really don't care. Honestly, seriously. He's like, yeah, it'd be great for the league. Really? Who's clamoring for that? Last time I checked, you're a running back. He's a receiver. Still need a quarterback. Still need a good team around. This isn't basketball. You two going to one team isn't going to change the fortunes of a team that drastically that, oh my God, this is crazy. They're trying to form a super team. There's 53 guys on an NFL roster, 11 on the field for one team, 22 at a time. Like 2 guys aren't going to make that big of a difference unless one of them is a quarterback. So I actually thought that was comical that he felt like, oh, we're so important that if we go to a team, like if those 2 go to, let's say, Tennessee, and, you know, obviously the Titans have Derrick Henry, but let's say that those 2 went to Tennessee. Are they going to really move the needle? Do you feel any different about the Tennessee Titans because Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins have decided to go there together? No, I still look at the Tennessee Titans as a non-playoff football team. That's what I looked at them as. So I don't really know what he thinks. And you know, some of these players, they really overrate their value. He's a good football player and he can help a team, but him, you know, saying that, oh man, this is what the league needs. Is, yeah. Okay. Dude, pipe down. But in the spirit of that conversation, okay, I want to know what's more likely. And I want you guys to rank these. Okay, I don't want you to just tell me what is most likely. I want you to put them in sequential order of which you think they can happen. So 1 would be the thing you think can happen the most. 2 would be the thing you think can happen second most. And 3rd would be what you think is probably least likely to happen of the 3 things. So with that said, Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins end up on the same squad is your first choice here. Okay. What happens there? All right. Do you think that is a real possibility or not? That's scenario 1. Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins end up on the same squad. Option 2, and we've heard a lot of him being so impressive, which is what you want to hear. Again, I'm not the biggest OTA minicamp guy, specifically for like guys in the trenches and things, but anytime you're on the field, I really don't care what position it is. I want you to put your best foot forward. Anytime you're in a competitive environment, I want you to shine, right? I want you to do your very best. Okay. What I don't want to hear is the guy that we drafted, 3rd or 4th overall. What was it? 4th overall for Anthony Richardson. Man, he looks pretty bad in minis, right? Throwing against air. He looks pretty rough. You don't want to hear that. They've been ranting and raving about this kid's leadership, his accuracy, his athleticism. Man, he's going to be a problem. This, that, the third. They're excited about him. With that said, he's still a guy that I'm not sure is ready to play week 1 in the NFL. Like, I still think there's some maturing that needs to be done. And again, he's going to play this season as Anthony Richardson, right? He's going to start for the Colts at some point. The question is, will he be ready to start week 1? Does that make the most sense, or does it make more sense for him to start week 4? Does it make more sense for him to start week 7? That's what the Colts have to figure out, because if they don't have a good enough team around him, if he hasn't really mastered the day-to-day responsibilities of a game week, like maybe they wanted him to see what it means to prepare for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and then say, all right, he's ready now. He understands what it takes to get ready for an NFL opponent, what kind of work goes into getting your body prepared mentally, physically, and now we think he's ready to start. So the next scenario that I want you to weigh, Anthony Richardson, week 1 starter for the Indianapolis Colts. All right. That's option 2. That's scenario 2. Okay. So scenario 1, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins end up on the same squad. Option 2, Anthony Richardson starts week 1 for the Indianapolis Colts. Remember, his backup right now and the guy that he's competing with, Gardner Minshew. Okay. So he has to beat out Gardner Minshew. Which all of the situations are very similar between CJ Stroud and Case Keenum. The Panthers are starting Bryce Young. That's why I don't even have him here, right? CJ Stroud could have been added into this mix. They're going to start him too. All right. Those 2 are starting for sure. Those 2 were the only 2 that we felt like, I can't speak for you, that I felt like we're ready to start week 1 in the NFL anyway. Okay. And there'll be bumps in the road for both of those quarterbacks. More so CJ Stroud, I believe, than Bryce Young, but there'll be bumps in the road. But Richardson wasn't ready. He wasn't quite Malik Willis, but I felt like, yeah, he needs a little bit of seasoning. We'll see. Week 1, will he be the starter for the Colts? And then finally, this is the last one. It's amazing how much we've talked about all of these different quarterback situations. Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets, this, that, and the third. We really haven't talked a lot about Jordan Love being ushered in as the new starter. Like, this is the thing the Packers do, is they let a quarterback that they feel like is the future of their franchise sit on the bench. And I'm talking about they tenderize that bitch, Alvin, and have that quarterback ready to go after like 3 years on the bench. Favre did it when he was on the bench in Atlanta for the Falcons for a couple of years before getting traded. So he got to see, what the NFL was all about before Green Bay went and got him. And he came over and started for them. We know the transition from Rodgers Favre to Rodgers was not a clean one in Green Bay. It was not a popular one even, especially when Favre decided, I want to play now. I made a mistake. I want my spot back. And they're like, bro, we already gave that to Aaron, man. I'm sorry. So, but he was there. Aaron Rodgers was there on the bench for like 3 years before he got an opportunity. Same thing for Jordan Love, right? Kind of a strange situation and dynamic. Green Bay always finds themselves in these situations, but it usually works out for them, right? They haven't had an issue at quarterback in 2 decades, right? They've been blessed. Is this guy going to live up to the standard that's been set in Green Bay? So the next and final scenario is the Packers make the playoffs with Jordan Love at quarterback leading the way. Those are your 3 scenarios. Which one do you think is most likely to occur? What's second likely to occur? And then what's the least likely to occur? Okay. Your 3 options, once again, are Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins end up on the same team. Option 2 is Anthony Richardson, Colts number 4 overall pick, 3rd quarterback taken in the 2023 NFL draft, is ready to go week 1 and is the starter to open up the season for the Indianapolis Colts. Or Jordan Love is able to navigate successfully his first year as a starter in Green Bay and takes the Packers to the playoffs. Let me hear it from you guys. What do you think is most likely to happen? But I want you to rank all 3 of them in the order that you think they can transpire. So I'll be looking for your comments. Speaking of which, you guys know how this works. If you're out there, you want your comment read on the air, which I will do if it is pertinent, because we're going to now transition to our next segment, social media maneuvers. Of course, I'm a midday marauder. Y'all know what it is. So if you want your comment to be read and you want to ensure that it is read, super chats are the way to go about that. I have a couple of supers right now, or a few rather, that I will get to first. But if you want your comment to be read, I just gave you a scenario. Use the hashtag LouieTLive to have your comment read. I'll try to get to as many of those. Can't ensure that I get to your comment. Super chats are the way to ensure that I do get to your comment. So with that said, let's get to these super chats real quick and see what you guys are talking about. Starting with my guy, JP, John Perez. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, I'm not buying the Suns, bruh. They have no bench and they can't play defense. Yeah, they'll score 130, but they'll allow 137 points. I don't disagree with you. I think the biggest part isn't necessarily that they don't play defense, which they're not a great defensive team because they don't have a rim protector. DeAndre Ayton really isn't someone that deters you from getting to the basket necessarily. However, he's a problem in itself because I think DeAndre, and I've told you guys this, he's a delicate flower. Mentally, I don't think he's locked into being a Phoenix Sun anymore. I think he would rather play for the Indiana Pacers, which is who had signed him to an offer sheet last year when the Suns matched and kept him in Phoenix. I don't think he wants to play for the Suns, or he could just not want to play with Chris Paul. And, there were reports that Chris Paul would love to go back to Phoenix because clearly he's not going to stay in Washington with the Wizards after that trade, which I loved. I want him to finish his NBA career in NBA purgatory. I would love for him to have to, play. I loved it when he went to where was it? He went to OKC. I'm like, you're never winning anything there. Like, I love when he spent 2-3 years in OKC just rotting away. I'd love to see him finish his career in Washington. It's not happening. They'll trade him, try to get something for him. That they're in full fire sale mode. But maybe CP3 was the problem. He couldn't stand CP3 and he wanted out because of him. Maybe now that CP3's gone, he'll be willing to stay. And I like you think that they don't have enough bench. That's the problem. They don't have enough of a supporting cast because the problem that arose last year, and this is where Beal comes in, is that when KD and Book couldn't get you 80 combined, my number to my buddy was 72. When they couldn't get you 72 points combined, you were gonna lose because where was the offense coming from? There wasn't another guy. Beal can fill that void, and now You don't have problems scoring. Now the question is, to your point, can you play enough defense? But do you still have enough to go up against a team, say like a Denver, who just can come at you in waves, that can keep going to their bench and outlast you? Do you have enough? Playoff time is different though, because the bench shrinks and the guys that you trust are very minimal. Like you're only playing eight to 7. Most teams 7. You might have an 8-man rotation in the playoffs. You're not playing many more guys than that. So the Suns will be fine. They just have to stay healthy. And we've seen KD, break down 20 games and miss here, there. They can't book or have a hamstring. They can't have that. They got to stay healthy. They do that, they're going to have a shot. That's a pretty formidable trio there. But I think if they can get some guys to come on a discount rate that just want to try to chase a chip, they could fill that bench up. They could be okay. But right now, they don't have a good enough bench. I agree with you. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, JP, writes, coming off of a Western Conference Finals berth, my Lakers need to make some upgrades in order to get back there. Heard they're going after Miles Turner and Buddy Hield again. They should have got Buddy the first time. That was their mistake. Buddy Hield should have already been there. If you would have inserted Buddy Hield, and I don't know if the roster is the same if Buddy's there, right? Obviously. But I don't think Buddy Hield's presence on the roster would have prohibited you from getting anybody else. That was the year you got Westbrook instead. If you would have got Buddy Hield the first time, if he was on this year's roster, you would have won the NBA. You would have probably went to the finals, because you didn't. The one thing you did not have, Buddy Hield would have provided you, and that's shooting. I don't know if you can duplicate what you did last year again. I don't know. We'll see. The Lakers are really interesting, because you got young enough pieces surrounding Bron that he doesn't have to do as much, but you don't have enough star power. That's the biggest problem. But the shooting was the biggest issue, which is what I told you. Eventually, it's going to catch up to you. I thought it was going to catch up to you against Golden State, but I didn't realize how bad of a problem Golden State had in terms of, not getting to the free throw line themselves and allowing teams to get to the free throw line. And the Lakers were the best at that, and they really exploited them. And the Warriors turned the ball over way too much. So there was that as well. But the Lakers are dangerous. They're very, very dangerous. We'll see what kind of move. Everybody's going to make moves. That's the thing that makes this offseason so intriguing, is everyone's going for it. And why not? Why not your squad, right? Everybody's got a chance. And so the Lakers are going to go for it. Everybody else, they're going to be moving pieces around. Some of it may be just reshuffling the deck, because there's, you're kind of strapped for cash. There's not much you can do. You might have a mid-level exception here, or you may be able to rework a deal there, or you may be able to move on from a guy. You had a club option on somebody and you move on from them. But some teams are really going to try to go after it. We've seen the coaches deck reshuffled. Nick Nurse over here, Monty over here, this coach over here, that coach over there. Like we seen the deck reshuffle with coaches. Now I want to see what teams do in terms of players. It's going to be interesting. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Twin D writes, number 1, smash the like button. Y'all heard him. PSA, hit the like button. Doesn't cost you anything. All right, almost 90 of you out there, only 24 likes. We can do so much better than that. Look, if you don't like it, then don't hit the like button. I mean, it's really simple. But if you want to support, hit the like button. I really, truly do appreciate that. He says, 2A, go to MusicHead University. So shameless plug time with the opportunity presented to me. MusicHead University is one of my other channels where I do music. We listen to it. I talk about artists in different scenarios and different avenues, whether I'm giving somebody flowers or an underrated artist or underrated song or different scenarios. So I've got so many things that I haven't even touched on that I have in the chamber. So and music is always changing. It's always evolving. So there'll always be something to talk about. And we've had a great time already over there. And I would love it if you are interested. Again, if you're not a music head like myself, then please, by all means, continue to do the things that you've been doing. But if you love music, like I love music, then MusicHead University, especially R&B in particular, is the place you need to be. He said, it's a blast. It is. I've had so much fun, and I'm really proud of the growth and the progress that channel has made organically to this point. And it's continuing to grow, and it's continuing to grow because of viewers like you, Twin D, Miss Perry, and others. So I really appreciate you guys for checking out Brandon Davis, and so many of you who have really supported. He says, 2B, smash the like button when you get there. Absolutely. I've seen, and you know what I've realized, and I'm guilty of this when I go to other people's channels, is I could watch something and not hit the like button. And I always say, well, why do I have to keep reminding people that? Because people need reminding. Like they don't mean to not hit the like button. They don't mean to omit hitting the like button. They just forget. And so I don't like to be that guy that's always bothering you. Hit the like button, but hit the like button. It helps exponentially. You can't begin to understand how much that helps in terms of the YouTube algorithm and things of that nature. Hitting the like button is huge. 3A, I promise you LT doesn't sing. He lets the music speak for itself. LOL. I try to stay out of it. I know I can't sing, you know. So I try to let the real singers and the real artists have at it. I stay out of the way, you know. So he's absolutely spot on. It ain't a lot of me singing over there. That's for damn sure. But I appreciate you, Twin D, for the shameless plug there. And let's get to the comment section. And I'll just read a couple of these because we don't have a lot of comments, and then we'll move on and get out of here. So Mike Lowry says, can they be all three? LOL. You can't have all three of them be most likely to happen. One has to supersede the other, right? Others. Miss Perry says Richardson starts week 1 is 1. Jordan Love takes the Packers to the playoffs 2, and Hopkins and Cook end up on the same team. That is exactly the order that I have. There's no way that Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins end up on the same team, because in my mind, the teams that are interested in DeAndre Hopkins aren't interested in Dalvin Cook. So I think he's going to either end up in New England or Tennessee. Those are the two spots that look the most likely, neither of which needs a running back. So he's not in a position to really say, hey, we should team up and go here. You know, the team that needs both a running back and a receiver probably aren't, you know, in a position to go after these guys, pay them what they're looking for, because they're not in a position to win, right? If you need both a running back and a receiver, a number one wide receiver, you probably suck, you know? So the chances of them ending up on the same team, slim and none. Like Dalvin Cook's best opportunity is probably Miami. They're not looking for a receiver. They got two of the best in the league on their team already. Like they're not ending up on the same team. I agree with that. So I'm with you. One would be Richardson starting week 1, even though I don't think he's going to start week 1. But that just tells you that I don't think that Jordan Love is leading the Green Bay Packers. If the Packers were a better roster, like I don't love their roster right now. It's not a bad roster. I still don't trust their skill guys around him. Like I didn't trust them around Aaron Rodgers last year. They are a year more mature, and they did add another kid, Jalen Reed, out of Michigan State. And so maybe they are all of a sudden a dynamic group. But Christian Watson, he showed flashes last year, but I'm not sure that they're good enough around Jordan Love to win and win big enough to make it to the playoffs. But we'll see. Mike Lowry says Richardson starting might be the only thing that happens, in my opinion. Yeah. I don't even know if that's going to happen. But again, this isn't asking you which one is going to happen. It's which one is most likely, meaning none of these can occur, but which one is the most likely to. That's why it's a hypothetical. We don't know if any of these are going to actually happen, but if one were to occur, which one would be the most likely to happen? And so none of these can happen, right? And I wouldn't be shocked if none of them actually happen. But the one that I think is most likely to happen is Richardson starting week 1. And again, I don't even think he's going to start. You know, I think the only two locks as rookies to start this year are going to be the first and second overall picks, Bryce Young in Carolina and CJ Stroud in Houston to start week 1, that is. Now, Richardson's going to start at some point. Gardner Minshew's not going to keep him on the bench for the entire season if he is the starter week 1. But to me, if he and this is the thing, it's all about what Anthony Richardson shows you in training camp into the preseason. If he shows you that he's ready, that he can make checks at the line of scrimmage, set the proper protections, can go through his reads, and because they're going to build an offense around his skill set. That's why they got Shane Steichen. They're going to build an offense around what he's comfortable doing. So they're going to make that transition from college football, spread offense at Florida, all of that. They're going to make that transition seamless for him. So it's not about, oh my God, can he handle an NFL playbook? No, they're going to make sure that he's comfortable. That's not the problem. The problem is, can he identify what the defense is doing pre-snap? Can he slide the protection? Can he protect himself? Can he protect the football? Like, if these are things that they question and they're not sure about, then they need to go with Gardner Minshew to start the season off until they feel more comfortable that he's ready to assume that role. But again, I think if he shows the things that he showed in minicamp, and minicamp is totally different than training camp and actually having teams, throw live bullets at you and the opposition actually being able to hit you where you're not wearing a red jersey. When that whole environment switches and he's now a target and teams are coming after him, if he shows the ability to hang in there, because he's going to make mistakes. That's what young quarterbacks do. But he shows the ability to bounce back from mistakes, shows that athleticism, which we know he has, shows off the cannon for an arm, and it's actually accurate. I don't see why he doesn't start week 1. But again, I still think there's seasoning to happen, and that's why I don't think he's going to start week 1. But we'll see. Justin Clemens says second scenario, first scenario, then third scenario. So he's got the Anthony Richardson starting first, then he's got Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins ending up on the same squad second, and the Packers making the playoffs with Jordan Love at the helm leading the way as his third scenario. I don't have a problem with that because Jordan Love, I don't love the situation that he's being put in, but it's not terrible. It's not the worst. And again, in an NFC, and we've talked about this already, in an NFC that is wide open, like the Eagles are as close as you're going to get to a dominant team, and I'm not really sure that they're dominant. They were last year, but they're not the Chiefs, right? They have to do it again in order to establish that, hey, we run the conference now. Because last year could have just been a fluke. I've already said that last year was more of a byproduct of who they were playing, and then they got hot and they had confidence more so than, oh, this is just the Eagles. They're such a great team. They're well coached. All that. We're going to see if all of those things ring true, that this roster is tremendous and they're well coached, and this is just what they do. They just win football games. I'm not sure that that's who they are. That's what the Chiefs are. That's what the Bills are. These teams have established this is what we do. Cincinnati, this is what they do. Like, we win ball games, we win in the playoffs, and we do this every year. Like, those teams have established that. The Bengals have been in the AFC Championship game each of the last 2 years. The Buffalo Bills win 11, 12, 13 games every year. The Chiefs go to the AFC Championship game every single year. So they've established themselves. There's not a team like that in the NFC right now. The closest thing that you'll get to that is the Philadelphia Eagles. But again, they got to do it again. We've seen teams the Packers were the closest thing that we had to that. They were winning 13, 14 games every year. They get to the playoffs and they get bounced. So we're going to see if there's a team like that. But to me, there's not. And even if the Eagles are, the back end of the conference is still wide open. You can sneak in the back door. And the Giants proved last year, you can sneak in the back door, and not only can you sneak in, you can do some damage when you get there. So we'll see. They just have to be up to par, right? The Packers their division isn't great. We don't know about Chicago. Minnesota has one of the worst defenses in football, and they just had essentially a fire sale on veteran players, right? So they're turning over that roster. Really not sure what we're getting out of the Vikings this year. And the Lions, everybody's chic picked to do this and do that, but they still got to go out and do it. And clearly, they don't believe Jared Goff is the answer, which I think is another discussion for another day. But we really haven't talked about that. But I got some quarterbacks that I want to talk about. We'll do that. You know, we got plenty of time. Anyway, Mike Lowry says, besides AJ, who else do the Packers have as weapons? Look, we know their running back position is really solid. Like both of their, Aaron Jones, which is AJ. They got AJ Dillon, right? And then they got, I thought Christian Watson showed some things last year. If he could just stay healthy, he showed that he could be a problem in this league. Is he a number one? I don't know, right? That I don't know, but he showed the ability to play ball last year. And, they drafted all those, other guys, Samari Toure, and it was another guy from Nevada. Can't remember his name right now, but they had a bunch of youngins last year. They added another one this year in the draft out of Michigan State. So we're going to see if any of those guys kind of emerges. And they may have a really formidable group in Green Bay all of a sudden. Who knows? Didn't they draft a tight end too? Didn't they draft one of the better pass catching tight ends in the draft? So there could be some weapons in Green Bay. We'll see what the offensive line looks like. We'll see what the defense is all about. Miss Perry writes, not to mention the money they reportedly both want. And that's another big issue. That's what I said when I said, look, both of these dudes are looking to get paid. Neither one of them are willing to take a discount. Despite being paid still by the teams that moved on from them, they're still looking. And again, especially Dalvin Cook. I don't blame him one bit, because the running back position is no country for old men. He's turning 28 before the start of the season. And this is probably the last time he's going to get paid real money in the NFL. So he better take advantage. So I'm not mad at him for that. But if you're looking to team up in the NFL, somebody's going to have to take a little bit less. They're not going to be willing to do that. And again, you don't get to choose. This isn't the NBA. You don't get to choose where you go. Your presence isn't so warranted that teams are fawning over you that you get to select where you go with a buddy. This is the NFL. They choose you. You don't choose them. Okay. That's how this goes usually. So, yeah, no, they're not going to end up on the same squad. I don't see it happening. Mike Lowry says, I don't see the Titans making the playoffs. They should just start Richardson week 1 and get that experience. Not the Titans, the Colts. But to your point, and that's another situation, though, why bringing up the Titans, I wanted to talk about. But I just don't know if, that's a tough one. We'll talk about that one, too. That's an interesting situation because Malik Willis has looked sharper. But, again, it's minis, right? It's OTAs. It's off season. He's looked better, right? They drafted Will Levis, clearly, to be the future. And then there's still the wily veteran, Ryan Tannehill hanging on. You're not winning anything with him. That window is officially shut and locked, okay? So at this point, what are we doing? We spinning our wheels in a circle, going nowhere with Tannehill, or are we just going to go ahead and start the future? Whether that's Malik Willis or it's Will Levis, let's just start the future. What are we waiting on? So again, that's an interesting discussion, but again, for another day. Humble King says Green Bay will finish last in the NFC North. I don't know if I buy that because I'm not buying the Chicago Bears right now, even though I like what they've done this offseason. Still need to see it, right? Still need to see that they're not this leaky defense that we saw last year because Justin Fields had some games and they still gave it up, right? And I need to see Fields as a passer, progress. Now, second year in that offense. They should be more comfortable with him. He should be more comfortable with them, et cetera, et cetera. They've given him more weapons. That was pure negligence, what they did last year. So they've cleaned that situation up. No excuses this year. That's the whole moniker is no excuses. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't love what Minnesota is looking like these days, but again, we'll see. Green Bay isn't as bad off as you think. I just don't know if they're ready to win at a high enough clip to make it to the playoffs this year. But we'll see. We'll see. Ms. Perry writes, thoughts on Diggs in Buffalo. You know what? Stephon Diggs he's one of those eccentric personalities. And, you know, sometimes he's one of those guys that is just, you know what the term is for him? Moody. He's a moody dude, you know, and when he's in the right mood, great teammate, you love to have him, playmaker, dynamic, all those good things. And then when he's not in the mood, this is what you get, right? You know, you don't know if he's going to request a trade. He doesn't want to be there. There's a problem. He's being cryptic. I think everything's fine, honestly. You know, this is the off-season shit that happens. I do think he was frustrated with the way things went last year. And is he upset with someone that is in the building right now that wasn't maybe there before? Maybe. There's maybe a little dissension there, but I don't think he was happy with the way things went last year. I remember he was upset about targets, and he's one of the most targeted guys in the NFL, or at least he was prior to last year. And then, you know, you have Dable out, and, you know, you got their quarterbacks coach and Ken Dorsey being promoted to offensive coordinator. And, you know, there was some bumps in the road. You would expect that, you know, with a first year OC, you know, maybe a little difference in how you do things and philosophical beliefs and how you spread the ball around. And so don't know if he was really the biggest fan of them out here looking around, sniffing around some of these receivers, i.e. DeAndre Hopkins. He doesn't strike me as a guy that wants another star around because he's not looking to share the targets that he's getting, which most, and I would put him in the category of a diva receiver. You know, when shit isn't going his way, he's very, very aggressive, you know, and can be disgruntled at times. So look, this is what you signed up for. You know, he was on his best behavior the first couple of years. You gave him, gave him that last contract that was supposed to be his forever contract. And now he's not on his best behavior anymore. Once the season starts, they start winning some games. He starts catching balls. He'll be fine. I think everything will kind of just be water under the bridge. But this is the off season, man. So, and I do think he wants to play with his brother. I think that does exist as well. But Buffalo's like, we don't have anything to do with that. You know, you're here in Buffalo, so we can put that to bed right now. This will be the last one right here. We get from Comasel Brown, who says, will the Vikings ever get their money out of Cousins? LOL. I doubt it. Look, it really becomes a situation where you pay for the ability to say we got one instead of not having one. Right? You rather be caught with it than without it. Right? If you're gonna get jammed up, would you rather have a gun or not have a gun? You're going to get jammed up either way. You know you're going to get jammed up. Would you rather have something to protect yourself or not have something? That's pretty much what the NFL is with quarterbacks. You know at some point, somebody's going to try you. You need a weapon to defend yourself. Your quarterback is your weapon. You either get caught with it, and that could be by the police, right? You get caught with it, or you get caught without it, and that's somebody coming to try you. Which one do you really want, right? I'm going to take my chances with the police popping me, but I got it on me. I can get rid of it if I need to, which is where the Vikings are with Kirk. Like, Yeah, the authorities are closing in. Don't necessarily know if we want him back, which is why they haven't signed him to an extension. But in case one of these other teams in the division try to try us this year, Green Bay tries to step up with Love, or the Bears try to rise up with Fields, I got one, and I still got 12 in the clip. And if I got to, or 8 in this case, I got 8 in the clip. And if I got to let off, I can't. You never want to be without protection. You get caught without a quarterback in this league, you're dead. Dead, I tell you. We outlining you in chalk. We got caution tape. And we were talking, and we singing hymns and songs, and we talking about what that team was, right? It'd be a lot of slow singing and flower bringing if your quarterback alarm starts ringing and you don't have one. So that's all the Vikings are like. Look, we got one. And you can say what you want about the Vikings last year. Kirk led them to the playoffs. They got smoked when they got there. They lost to the Giants, but they got there, right? And having a quarterback like Kirk, you say what you want. And I always say this, you know, we heard the jokes. We heard what Cam Jordan said, you know, slow right decisions. We call those Kirk Cousins, right? Kirk's always going to be a process guy. He's always going to make the right decision, even if that means checking it down on 4th and 7, as we saw in that game against the Giants. It's frustrating, but he'll give you a chance to win as well. And he doesn't miss games. He's tough as nails. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, in terms of social media maneuvers. Let's finish up today's show with garbage time. And so I wanted to, I don't know, I don't have it set up, but, you know, we can change that real quick. So let's see if I can pull this thing up. All right. So let's see if I can get this thing. Pulled up, because I don't know which is which. Oh my goodness. All right, so we take that off. All right, I don't even know. Oh, here we go. All right, so I can just go ahead and get rid of that. Oh, that's why I couldn't find you. All right, here we go. So, and let me fix this. The Lions have a new helmet, right? A new alternate helmet. I personally think this is fire. I get tired of watching them. Like, I wish they would have worn this on Thanksgiving, because, you know, when they wear their throwbacks on Thanksgiving, they usually just wear the bland helmet, the plain helmet. So I think these are absolutely fire. This is their alternate helmet. They'll wear these twice next year, week 8 and 18. So the final game of the season and week 8 game, which is a Monday night contest, they'll be sporting these helmets. I want to see what jerseys they're going to wear with them. I'm assuming they're going to wear their normal, uniforms, and that these are just an alternate helmet to go with those uniforms. Whatever the case, I think these are dope. What says you? Do you like these helmets? First of all, I like the matte. After Washington did the matte helmets, I have a new appreciation for matte helmets, because I was always a glossy, shiny guy. The matte helmets are dope. So I like the matte finish. I like the old school Lion. I just think it's a well done helmet, and the Lions needed a little change, because we've seen them change logos. We've seen them change color schemes. Remember, they used to have black in their uniform. They took the black out like maybe 3 or 4 years ago and just went strictly to the white, blue, and the silver. So this gives them a fresh look. I'm feeling this. What says you? I think this is a really good look for them. So we're seeing a lot of teams do different things. I'm assuming Nike had a huge hand in this. Remember, Nike took over the the NFL apparel probably like 7 to 10 years ago. It's been a while now. But they haven't gotten to do a lot of things. You know, the one thing they did get to do were the Color Rush uniforms, but that's now gone. They haven't had a chance to really, you know, touch a lot of stuff and say, hey, they got to do it with Washington's new uniform. I know they were excited about that. They're doing it here, obviously. They really haven't had a lot of opportunities, though. So this is pretty dope. I like it. What says you? Anyway, that is going to do it for me, your man Louie T, as that was garbage time. Look forward to chopping it up with you guys on Friday. We will be back on Friday to wrap up the week that was. And if you're a Washington fan, I'll see you tomorrow night for the Command Post Live. And we'll discuss the question that I posed to you. I've got a couple of other things that I'm going to bring to your attention. I think it's going to be an interesting show because I got a lot of questions to ask. And I don't want my answers. I want yours. So we'll see how that goes on Thursday night. But in any event, you guys have a good one. Take care. Oh, yeah. And I'm starting a new series. I think it's going to start tomorrow. That's my goal. That's the aim. We'll see, you know. But 32 and 32, where we cover all 32 teams in the league and kind of give you a primer for those teams as we get ready to embark on a new season. We'll go through all 32 teams in the league, you know, kind of talk about what they did last year, what they did in the offseason, and what the future projects for them. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be starting here shortly. In any event, y'all take care. And if you have an opportunity, check out MusicHead University. My guy Twin D said it best, man. We having a blast over there. So if you're interested, come check us out, man. Having a great time. You guys have a good one. Take care. God bless. Good night. The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description. LouieTeeNetwork.